Hello everybody, I am Keaton of Kinetic Catholic Ministries, back with another video. I hope that you all are having an absolutely wonderful Tuesday so far. I know that I am. I want to apologize to you guys for inconsistency and getting stuff out there. It's been a crazy summer, a lot of busyness, a lot of travel, and so we just haven't produced at the content rate that we thought we would. We know that there will still continue to be some content rolling out through the summer, and then when we get back to school, the whole team's together again. We'll be rolling with content, and so we're still here. Also, you can book us for retreats, guys. We're doing retreats this year, and I'm also doing speaking engagements this year as well. So please reach out to us, kineticcatholicministries@gmail.com, to contact us about that, and we can work out some details. So I wanted to come on here and just talk to you guys very blatantly, honestly, transparently about what is going on in our country, and specifically from the perspective of someone who's in Gen Z and a devout Catholic, right? Like, what is a Catholic Gen Z? It's a pretty specific perspective, but what is the perspective kind of on everything that's happening in the country, and what can we do as Catholics, right? I think it's important to note a couple things. Number one, that other members of the team would absolutely have really great insights to give into this, and so what I am speaking is like Keaton's exact thoughts, right? They might differ a little bit in terms of exact verbiage and stuff, but the overall message, the overall idea for Kinetic as an entity is the same. I also want to point out that it was absolutely beautiful to see all of the pictures from the Eucharistic Congress. I'm really bummed out that I wasn't able to go, but it looked really, really awesome. Like, it was just very cool to see that kind of love, that kind of presence of the Eucharist, the revival of the Eucharist that clearly happened. It's just awesome. Anyway, so what's happening? Like what is America right now? I don't really know. That's a great question. We're living in really unprecedented times, and for me, as someone who is in Gen Z, this is the first election that I'm even able to vote in, presidential election, and it's a pretty weird one. We have the Trump assassination attempt on, I think that was July 14th, right? It was a little earlier, maybe. Around that time, we had the President Trump assassination attempt, which was really terrifying and something that everybody, Catholic or not, should absolutely condemn. It was one of those, at least for me, I remember where I was moments. I was actually in Mass. Someone went to the bathroom, came back, and I found out, and it was just, at the time, I knew very little about the details, and if it was just an attempt or if it had succeeded. I didn't know what was going on, and so it was very, very terrifying, and for the state of our country even, and also because it's the potentiality of a soul, right? Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, all of these people are souls that we should have souls that we should want to be in heaven with, and so there was that fear also, right, of what was going on. And then we just recently had Joe Biden step down in terms of running, and Kamala Harris being endorsed. She's not the official candidate yet, but she probably will be, or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about generally with politics. I'm not a big politics guy. What I do know is that this is really just an unprecedented election in American history, and I think that it's important that at Kinetic that we don't ignore it, because it's what kind of everyone's talking about, and it's also just something that's super big and super kind of daunting for a lot of us, for a lot of Catholics. The reality is that Kinetic as a ministry, but then also just the Catholic Church and what every Catholic should be, not what every Catholic is, but what every Catholic should be, is completely pro-life, and in every sense of the word. And so that's the number one thing, is that's something that's kind of associated with elections and associated with politics, but I see it as something separate from politics. It is a complete human rights issue, because there are babies that are being brutally murdered in the womb at a rate that's incredibly sad. And so we should absolutely be pro-life in our politics, but I don't necessarily like to use that terminology because, again, I don't consider it necessarily political. I consider it just a human rights thing, right? Like souls that have been willed into existence by God are being brutally murdered. And that's really, really sad. And so we need to have understanding, we need to have kindness, we need to have charity and a heart of charity when talking about the issue and when approaching the issue, which I haven't always succeeded at, right? I failed at that at points. It's something that we need to have. That's number one. That's something to make clear when we're talking about everything going on in our country. But number two, and I want to make two kind of main points for this video to really drive home, it's that there's a lot of idea that your identity is tied to your, like, where you fall on the aisle, to your political party. I am a Republican. I am a Democrat. Like, that terminology, I am. It's almost identifying you with a certain set of people and innately against another set of people. And I think that we can kind of get in that mentality, especially every 4 years, especially around election time. And I think that it can kind of be a subconscious thing, but it can really arise just even in subconscious ways that we don't even realize it. Like, I am in the middle. I am split. I am both. I am neither. I am this. I am that. Like, there's a lot of, we identify ourselves with our beliefs because our beliefs make up a lot of who we are. And that's okay to a degree. Like, sure, like, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that terminology if we're using it loosely. Where the issue comes in is that we have to understand that our core identity, like my core identity, is not affiliated with a political party, but my identity is a son of God. And your identity is a son or a daughter of God. Right? Like, before I am tied to any political party, I am a Catholic. I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. I am a Catholic. I am a son of God. That is what is most important. I know that can kind of be obvious. Like, we may be thinking, oh my gosh, like, I know I've heard this. Like, yes, I'm a son of God. Absolutely, and we can kind of just move past it. But think about how powerful that is. Like, we need to be really careful. And I'm not just saying, like, you all and I'm up here. Like, me too. Like, we need to be careful to not tie ourselves too closely to either side, but to tie ourselves closely to God. Because the reality is, as unfortunate as it is, the truth is, neither candidate, Donald Trump and then, or probably Kamala Harris, align with the teachings of the Catholic Church. One of them absolutely aligns better, for sure, but neither of them align exactly with the teachings of the Catholic Church. And so that's really sad, and it's really sad to see that that's the state of our country. And that's kind of the state of the culture that we have moved into, where now you have both sides not really identifying themselves with Christian morality. I mean, that's a sad state of the country. But the reality is we are a son of God first. So that's number one, is that we are absolutely, our identity, we are a son or daughter of God before we are anything tying into our identity, right? So that's kind of the first point that I really want to drive home. The second is that, especially times like these, like, it can be really anxiety inducing for a lot of Americans. It can be terrifying. I mean, like, there's so much fear to what is going to happen if blank is put in charge of the country, because there's this idea that, like, whoever wins the presidency kind of has control over us, and so they're kind of in charge of it. And I get that feeling, like, there's a power structure there, right? Like, they're in charge of the country, they make a lot of big decisions, so it's totally valid to feel that way. But at the same time, we need to understand that ultimately, no matter, like, what country we're in, no matter who's president, that who sits on the throne, who's the king, is Jesus Christ. And not in some metaphorical, abstract sense, but in a real, actual, genuine sense, who sits on the throne of the universe is our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. How cool is that? The same Jesus that willed you into existence, that knows the number of hairs on your head, that loves you so deeply, that wants you to get to the eternal kingdom with him. That same Jesus sits on the throne of the universe, no matter who wins the election. And that is something that should absolutely reassure us about November. Absolutely. And again, it's not in an abstract metaphorical way. It's real. It's legitimate. How awesome is that? How cool is that? Oh my gosh, it's just that's not to say that the election doesn't matter at all. Like, yeah, like, I think that as Catholics, we have a role and responsibility to absolutely use our voice. we have a role and responsibility to vote. And I think that being in Gen Z, having this, at least this is from my personal experience, having this be the first election I can vote in, it's a little overwhelming, everything historic that's happening. Why is this the first one? Everything historic that's going on. It's also powerful, but it's also, there's a very spiritual layer to it. And I think that something that we can forget is that these figures, no matter how much we might disagree with them, no matter, there are absolutely people in this election that have taken wrong actions, and we can absolutely judge those actions. As Catholics, we have a right to judge actions, right? I have a right to judge pro-choice legislation that's coming out, to judge people that are trying to judge actions of people. Gotta catch myself. To judge action. You see, I fail with it sometimes also. I'm not perfect in that sense, but I'm not perfect in any sense, but to judge actions of people, to judge pro-life laws that may, or pro-choice laws that may be going into effect. What I can't judge is human beings, right? I can't look at someone and say that is an evil person because I don't know their heart. I can say that person is taking evil actions, that person believes in evil things. I can't say that person is an evil person. And that can be hard, especially in something like politics where you are choosing who to vote for. You're choosing person A or person B. And so there's a little bit of judgment that comes in there, but we have to be careful. We have to watch ourselves. And not just for the political figures, but also for their following, right? I can't look at someone and say, hey, because so-and-so supports candidate B, that person is a bad person. Or I automatically don't like that person. That's so un-Christian. That's not what Jesus asks of us. And I struggle with it. I struggle with it a lot, but that's not what Jesus asks of us, right? Jesus asks us to love everybody and to not judge. We can acknowledge, we can point out rights and wrongs, we can judge actions, we can't judge human beings. And so with that being said, we need to pray for the candidates. We need to pray for Donald Trump. We should genuinely want to sit in heaven with every soul that we encounter. That includes Donald Trump. That includes Kamala Harris. That includes Joe Biden. We should have a desire to be in heaven with every person. So we should pray for them and actually do it, right? We should actually pray for politicians. We should pray for candidates. No matter how much we may disagree with them, we should pray for them. That's our role because prayer has actual power. Prayer isn't just an abstract, oh yeah, I'll pray for you as a gesture thing. People kind of talk about it that way in our modern society, and that kind of bothers me a little bit. At least in the modern culture, it's talked about oh, thoughts and prayers mean nothing. Thoughts and prayers is just a side passing thing. But prayers have power. Prayer is powerful. So we should actually pray for our politicians, for people in government. Pray for the future of our country. Actually bring it to Jesus Christ. Because again, he sits on the throne. It all comes back to that. Jesus Christ sits on the throne. So we are living in unprecedented times, kind of scary times. We may not really know what to think, but I just want those points to kind of drive home with us, to hit home with us, that Jesus is number one, that our identity is a son or daughter of God, and that ultimately we need to be praying for our country and praying for the people that run it. So thank you all so much for watching this video. Once again, we're going to be getting more content out to you guys, especially when we get back to school and we're able to really hit the ground running with getting content out. Please check out our website, kineticcatholicministries.com. We also just got brand new merch. This is one of them, Psalms 139. I love Psalms 139. It's so good. And it has the entire psalm. You can't see it, but has the entire psalm on the back. You can see it in person. It's worth buying it. You just can't see all of it right now, but you can see it on the actual, I promise. So please do go check that out. All of kind of what you give goes back into the ministry, and so we would really appreciate it. Checking out the merch. Check out our social medias. The link to all of those will be in the description down below. And then please comment any topic suggestions you might have for future videos. Once again, I'm praying for you guys. I ask that you keep myself and the rest of our team in your prayers as well, and keep the country in all of our prayers. So thank you all so much for watching. This was Keaton of Kinetic Catholic. I'll see you all next time. And hi, Brielle.